My dear students, in this video we are going to start with a novel, A Tale of Two Cities. A Tale of Two Cities is a historical novel written by Charles Dickens. This play was set in London and Paris before and during French Revolution, and it's a play between England and France. These two ruling states during those days were really terrible, had made the life of the commoners, the citizens, so terrible that no one's life was safe during those times when this story actually occurred. Now, it describes the environment of two places where life was in extremes. People were tortured even for small crimes. Therefore, the times were really dangerous. People used to send messages in code words. Right? Children, here we have the description of your author Charles Dickens. His full name was Charles John Huffam Dickens, and he is considered as the greatest English novelist of Victorian era. Of middle class origins, he was born on 7th February 1812 in Portsmouth, England, and he was the second of 8 children. His father earned a respectable salary, but his tendency to waste money eventually landed him in debtor's prison. Who was extravagant? His father was extravagant. Charles was then pulled out of school and put to manual labor in a factory to support his family. The distress of his working class period affected him deeply and left him with great sympathy for the poor. Dickens returned to school when his father was released from prison and later became a law clerk and a court reporter, jobs which afforded him the legal facts he often used in his novels. So we get an idea that through the writings, what all circumstances influenced the writing skill of Charles Dickens is all through his experiences in life. So we see that we can see this influence in A Tale of Two Cities, published in 1859. He began his career in fiction in 1833, writing short stories in periodicals. I repeat, he began his career in fiction in 1833, writing short stories in periodicals. The Pickwick Papers, serialized in 20 installments, made him the most popular writer of his day in England. In 1836, he married Catherine Hogarth. Though very much a public figure, he loved home and family life and was devoted to his many children. Dickens required being alone to write and took long walks through the streets at night to stimulate the creative process. A Tale of Two Cities was one of his final novels. Dickens died on 9th June 1870. So this is about our author. Here we have the characters: Mr. Lorry, Jerry Cruncher, Miss Pross, Solomon, who is also known as John Bassett. Okay, Mr. Lorry is a worker in Tellson's Bank. Jerry Cruncher is he is his attendant. Okay, you'll find Miss Pross. Miss Pross takes care of Miss Manette. Solomon is the long lost brother of Miss Pross. Here we have Sidney Carton. Okay, he is an assistant to Mr. Stryver, who is a lawyer. Okay, and we have these two. You can see here, these are the characters of a novel. Then we have Dr. Manette, the main character. Okay, and Lucy Manette. Little Lucy is daughter of Lucy Manette. Marquis of St. Evremond and Charles Darnley. These are his uncle and nephew. Okay, they belong to aristocratic family. Okay, these are all the aristocratic group of people. Then we have, in France we have these. When the French Revolution actually took place, these were the characters who were the revolutionaries. You can call them the revolutionaries. That is Madame Defarge or Mademoiselle Defarge, This is Monsieur Defarge. Monsieur Defarge is Sir Defarge. Okay, these are both of them are husband wife. Then we have Jacques 1, Jacques 2, Jacques 3, Jacques 4 and 5. These are all the characters who you can call them revolutionaries who revolted against the aristocracy. Children, our first chapter is Recall to Life. Now this chapter, Recall to Life, is actually, what Recall to Life means. It's a catchphrase. You can say it's a catchphrase which actually describes the message in a code word which says that there's a new chance at life. Okay, and this is actually a code word which relates to Dr. Manet's release from Bastille. You can say Bastille. I'll pronounce it as Bastille prison, and he is imprisoned in Bastille prison for 18 years, and he's finally recalled to life from the false accusations of the past. Right? So this chapter will begin this way. In the first part, you'll find that the situation or the scenario of France, both from England and France, is described in the first paragraph. Okay, this is how it goes, children. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was an age of wisdom, it was an age of foolishness. It was a season of light, it was a season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, it was a winter of despair. In short, it was a period which could only be perceived in extremes. So here we see that it was the time where one could live a life in extremes. If it was the time when one could enjoy the full, but it was also full life, but it was also the time when people led a very miserable life. Okay, so extreme means when the two when your life is either too good or too bad. Okay, that is how it describes. It was the worst of times. So excess of everything is bad, whether it's good or whether it is bad. Now it was the age of wisdom. Wisdom talks about intelligent people were also there, but it was the age of foolishness also. It was a season of light. It was also the season of darkness. So these are the extremes, light and darkness. And it was the spring of hope and the winter of despair. So if spring brought hope, it also the winters were full of sadness. So you could say that it was the time when one could see the life in extremes. Perceive means to see. Okay. There was a king with a large jaw and a queen with a plain face on the throne of England. This is how it describes. Okay. The king of England is described as a king with a large jaw and a queen with a plain face on the throne of England. The queen seemed quite simple and expressionless. There was a king with a large jaw and a queen with a fair face on the throne of France. So similarly, the same condition was in France also. In both countries, people believed that the world would never change. But though these two countries had their own kings and the queen, but in both the countries, the commoners believed that the world would never change. Now, what was the condition of the place? In England, people were obsessed with ghosts and seances. So in England, people were obsessed. Obsessed means smitten by something or deeply affected by an idea which completely overruled their mind. That there were ghosts and spirits. Seances refers to the spirits or the fear of being robbed. Okay. They were just had this superstitious belief. They were quite superstitious. They believed in ghosts and spirits, and they were also governed by the fear of being robbed at night by those they trusted during the day. That means people did not trust each other. The ones with whom they stayed throughout the day were equivalent to the robbers. Okay, they did not trust them. Okay, could also feel that the same people could rob them at night. In France, people were being tortured for the slightest violation of petty laws. Petty laws means small laws. Okay, for little laws also, people were, tortured badly. Death to those who did not bow before a monk. They did not see 50 yards away. If the monk was seen 50 yards away and the person did not bow before him, then also that person was considered to be a guilty person and was given a death sentence. In both countries, the prosperity of the ruling classes increased, as did the poverty of the underprivileged. That prosperity means that the ruling classes, they kept on becoming richer day by day, and on the other hand, the poor people, poverty refers to, and of the underprivileged refers to the poor people, they led a miserable life. And in both the countries, the king and the queen turned a blind eye to the hardships of the subjects. Okay, in both the places, France and England, how were the kings and the queens? They ignored. Turn a blind eye means they ignored the struggles of their people. Okay, too consumed by their own self-importance to care. So that means they were busy with themselves. They gave importance to themselves. They gave importance to their well-being, their welfare, but did not care about their subjects. Subjects refer to the people, the citizens of their country. So that was a miserable, life full of miseries for the commoners, but the life full of joy and happiness to the ruling class. It was a dark November night in the year 1775, and a steaming mist roamed up Shooter's Hill like a spirit seeking rest and finding none. It means, now it describes one. Now from here the story begins. Okay, it was a dark November night and the year was 1775. Okay, and on the Shooter's Hill, this is a place, okay, where it was a place at a great height, where the Dover Mail is a passenger train which moved along, which was half the way and trying to struggle over this Shooter's Hill, because this was at a certain height and it was just steaming up. It was just moving up the hill and it was just half the way to which place? Dover. Dover is the name of a place. Where was this rail coach going? To Dover. It was an empty coach pulled by 4 horses, its passengers walking beside it. So, as the Shooter's Hill was at the top, at a great height, the Dover Mail was not able to move over it. So, the passengers had got down from the coach and they were pulling it along with the 4 horses. Okay, they were just walking beside the coach. Okay, and the 4 horses were pulling the coach, the empty coach. It was not because the people wanted to exercise, so they were out of the coach. The reason was that the weight of the coach was too heavy for the horses to pull uphill in the mud. So it was very difficult for the horses to pull the coach. The driver and the guard beside him could hardly see more than a few feet in front of them. So it was a misty night and the driver and the guard were not even able to see the things ahead properly. They both knew it was a good night for a robbery, and Shooter's Hill was a perfect place because it was steep and the coach could get to the top only at a snail's pace. At a snail's pace means at a slow speed. And you see, it was a very misty night. The driver and the guard could not even see what was ahead of them, but they knew that it was a perfect night for robbery, and it was Shooter's Hill was the right place to rob the coach, because at any cost, at any way, the coach could not move fast on that on the top of that shooter's hill, because it was at a certain height and the horses found it quite difficult to pull the coach along with the passengers. They both peered into the mist to see if anything was moving. Peered is to look through carefully. They just tried their level best to see through whether everything was right ahead, especially anyone on horseback. So usually, children, robbers came on a horseback to rob the coach. Okay, and this occurred quite often at this place. Therefore, driver and the guard were very well aware of it. Children, in this video, I'll just read up till here, and I'll begin with the next part in my next video. Thank you.